ladies and gentlemen. It's your guy named Bennett. I'm one of 12 members of the Extraordinary Investment Group here on another extraordinary episode of the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast. I'm a co-host Ben's in the building. What it do, Ben's?
What's up? What's up? New year 2025. We got new year, new goals, new me. Ain't no new me. I'm same old me, but new goals.
New you? That's
Nah,
new to
same
me.
old. I'll be on the same bullshit.
That's
But
just-
new goals though. That's all.
For sure. And some of those new goals might be able to come to fruition with the help of our next guest. We got a DMV legend in here, for real. You've seen him all over the news, local news. You know, you see the branding, block shoppers. He'll get into that. Congratulations on the ownership rights to that joint, my guy. But licensed realtor in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and Georgia, top producing real estate agent, like the face of the NACA program here in the DMV, for real. Because that's when I became aware of this brother and what he was doing. And he'll get into all that. But, without further ado, the legend known as Real Estate Randy, we got Mr. Randy Lewis here on the podcast. What's good, Randy?
What's up, brothers? How y'all doing, man? That's a hell of an introduction. Appreciate y'all having me on, man. I'm excited. I love the work y'all are doing, first and foremost. It's definitely needed. So, I'm honored to be on this podcast.
We appreciate you for coming, my man.
Yes, sir. All right, so amongst the dope introduction I gave, man, get in your own words, man. Give everybody a brief synopsis of who you are, and what it is that you do, fam.
Yeah, definitely. So first and foremost, I'm born and raised here in the DMV. I'm Haitian, 100% Haitian. My parents immigrated here. So I grew up in a Haitian household. From there, played college ball, played high school basketball, college ball. Went to the NACA. I was fortunate enough to, get a full scholarship. Ended up going to Youngstown State University in Ohio. During my time in Ohio, I played ball, played cornerback. Thought I was going to the league. Obviously, that didn't happen, but great experience. Got to see the world, meet some great people, and that experience really is what allowed me to get interested in real estate. So I ended up graduating with a bachelor's there, had an extra year of eligibility. I graduated in 4, took advantage of that scholarship, transferred to the school called IUP, where I finished up my last year. I ended up getting a master's there in employment and labor relations. So came back to the area. I was doing HR. And then I want to say probably about a year in the HR, being in corporate, America, I quickly found out that really wasn't for me. That wasn't my calling. So I ended up, during that time, I ended up purchasing a multifamily unit by way of NACA. And so I was able to purchase my first building at the age of 25 with literally $2,000 out of my pocket. And so, that was crazy to me. And so I ended up, being able to live rent free as well as, making monthly rental income. And so that pretty much prompted me to get my real estate license, because I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, I paid $2,000. I'm living rent free. I'm making money every month. Why doesn't everybody know about this program? Because a lot of people had properties. They're like, yeah, I never heard of NACA. Or people that heard of NACA, they were like, man, it's a scam. Nothing but negative things. But I had gone through it. So I'm like, man, this is the best kept secret. And our community didn't even know about this, because, at the time I was making about like $40,000 a year. I wasn't making a lot of money. And so, from there, I was able to, purchase my building. And then I told my friends about it. My boy bought a building right across the street, and my cousin bought another building. And so, from there, we were talking, and I'm like, man, like, we buying back the block. We some block shoppers. And that's how like block shoppers came about. And, from there, it was just like, we got to spread this word. And so, from there, here we are, 2025, we've been pushing it hard since 2016. And, it's really developed into something, big and that we're proud of. And, our goal is really to start pushing it, outside of the DMV, doing it in different states, and really just trying to help, people that look like us, become homeowners and, build wealth. Because we know, one of the biggest ways to build wealth is through home ownership. And so, that's really what we're about. And like, that's what I'm about. And so, that's what we've been on.
All right, first off, shout out to IUP. So I went there. I went there for a recruiting visit. I talk about this all the time, and that shit was lit. So
Oh
like,
my gosh, lit.
yeah, it was lit. Like I was like, my man was going. Like thought I was too good to play there. So like I was like, no, I'm not going to IUP. My man was going, so I'll go with you. And
Yeah.
that shit was lit. They showed me a good time, good weekend out there. So shout out to IUP.
Party school.
Um,
Yeah.
great school. But but you brought up the NACA program. What is the NACA program? Like, what is? Give us a little more information on that and what that is, please.
Yeah, so NACA stands for Neighborhood Association Corporation of America, and NACA is a nonprofit, so they're a 501c3. So they focus on like housing counseling, and so they're in all 50 states. They've been around for like 40 years, which is crazy that a lot of people still don't know about it. But basically, they put you in a position to where you're able to get approved for a loan through their partner, Bank of America. Bank of America committed over like $18 billion and loans through NACA. So NACA is essentially like the middleman. So what they do is you go through a workshop. It's about a 3-hour workshop. From there, you become a NACA member, and then from there they assign you with the housing counselor, and they pretty much just look at your stuff, and if you're ready, and they think you're like ready to buy a home, they'll approve you. So NACA, their requirements, they pretty much just want you to work for at least 2 years. You could be a W-2 or a 1099. They don't look at your credit score. They don't care about your score. They just want to see on-time payment history for the last year. And they'll, from that point on, as long as you have pretty much those two main things, they'll pretty much approve you for a loan. You could buy anywhere from a condo, a townhome, a multifamily unit up to 4 units. You can buy a mixed use property where you have storefront at the bottom, 3 apartments at the top. They let you do new construction. You could build. So, it's a really great program again. And they also have a below the market interest rate. So if you went to, let's just say PNC, and the interest rates were 8%, NACA would probably be around 6%. So, that's big. So, that's helping your monthly payment. And again, they cover your down payment, your closing costs. So the only thing you have to pay at closing is like 1 year property taxes, which, that might be $3,000-$4,000. But in the end, you get a property where, you're not paying as much. There's no mortgage insurance, and they make you save a certain amount just to ensure that you have some reserves in case of a rainy day, especially now this time where it's uncertainty, people are losing their jobs, so they want to put you in a position where, you're successful. And so, at the end of it, a lot of my clients, they end up with a new home, they got a really good payment, and then they have their whole savings intact. So they're not going house poor, they're in position to, either make other investments or just have reserves in case, they got to fix something in their house. So that's really it in a nutshell.
I feel like I'm trying to be Noriega on Drink Champs, dog. Just clap it up for all this, dog. And this is great information that people need to know. I remember you hooked me up with not one of the counselors, but you told me when the workshop was going. You're like, well, wait till you're ready. Don't do the workshop until you're ready. So I sat on that. But yeah, that's definitely something I personally am going to be looking to take advantage of soon. But so to reiterate, they don't care about your credit score. They're looking for on-time payments. Is there a credit score that's too low for anyone that's listening?
Yeah.
And what type of on-time payments are they looking for?
Yeah, there's no credit score that's too low, because I know a lot of people, some people don't even have credit. And so that's not an issue. In terms of your payment for the last year, they want to see, good payment history. If you have like 2 or 3 late payments that are outside of 30 days, you might be able to just write a letter of explanation saying, life happened. And based off of that, they can make a decision whether or not they'll just bypass that. If they don't, they'll just say, hey, look, we want to ensure that you're ready to buy a home. So just make these payments on time for 3 months or 6 months. So they'll give you action items, and they essentially give you a roadmap, a game plan on what you need to do. So when you have that appointment, if you're not ready right there, it's not just to know. It's like, hey, you're not ready yet, but here are the things that you need to do. And so, that's a life hack. So if somebody gives you the playbook and they tell you as long as you do X, Y, and Z, you'll get, this home. At that point it's up to you. So and that's what we do at Blog Shoppers. We pretty much counsel people from start to finish, so before they even see NACA. So most of our clients, they already know going into their meeting if they're going to get approved or not, because I went through the program. I've helped so many people. I've built relationships. So we're really counseling them along the way.
And one important thing was a shout out to E.I.G member Jay, because Jay hit me. This was a day or two ago, and he was talking about, hey man, a lot of people, because our main audience are small black business owners, and a lot of them are afraid of the changes in the federal situation going on right now. The president going everything right now, and what he said was, on the podcast, we need to start focusing more on changes and developments for the small black minority owners and people in this corner going on right now. And my response was true, but the majority of things right now are things that have already existed, already grandfathered in, already funded by the corporations. We got Bank of America already saying we pledge X amount of dollars to do this. So as of right now, today, most things that you're worried about aren't affecting you.
Right.
Um, so I guess my bigger point is this here. With the NACA program, um, is there any things that you see for people who don't really have the established credit but need to get their profile together to do before they even get in that situation? Because that program is here now, so take advantage of it because it is currently here for you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, the biggest thing is just, no, NACA, all the information on their website first and foremost.
Okay.
So it's just about doing your due diligence, doing your research. You can go on there right now and they have the manual right there, right? And for me, it's like there's nothing that should stop you. Like if you are in a position where you don't necessarily, because one of the requirements, for example, is you have to show a certain amount of money in the bank account. So yeah, if you're trying to buy a residential home, like a regular, single family home, they want to show 3 months of what your projected monthly payment is. So let's just say they approve you for a $3,000 mortgage. They want to see 3,000 times 3, which is 9,000 plus like 1 year property tax. So let's just say, if we round it, let's just say $11,000. So that might be something that's prohibiting somebody. Somebody might not have $11,000 right in their account right now, but you can get to that. Like there's tax time. A lot of times people get tax refunds. As soon as they get it, they spent it. They buying, design it is that. It's just really about sacrifice, right? In addition to that, you can get money gifted to you. So like you don't necessarily have to use the money that's gifted to you. You just have to show it. So if you have a family member or somebody that's close to you, they can give you the funds to just essentially show that you have it, and then you can close on the property. So like the things that people may not have right away, they can work towards too. So I think like it's just really about like understanding where you're at, in your life, what the requirements are of the program, and then just, creating a game plan, whether it's today, whether it's in a year, 2 years. Because one thing we know, you need somewhere to live, right? Home ownership is key. That's one of the quickest ways to build wealth. So like as it relates to, their requirements and what you need to do, even if you're not ready right now, it's like just put the necessary work in place, because as we know, these years go by so quick. Before you know it, your time will be there.
And a lot of these things, like you said, is not necessarily about where you are right now, but where you're going to be when you apply.
Right.
And I think a lot of people get afraid by I currently have X amount in the bank. Oh, how do I get to this amount? Those type of things. Not realizing, like you said, there are ways to show that you are there at that point in time when you're ready to do that. And there's also a game plan and a time frame to get there to that point.
Exactly.
Um, so don't be afraid. Kind of get your game plan together. Figure out what you got to do. Read the headlines. Read the guidelines, and figure out how to make yourself look right on the application.
Right.
And I'm not advocating anything illegal, but at the same time,
Yeah.
how to make yourself look right on the application.
Right.
When it's time when it's time to make that happen.
Exactly. It's just proper planning, man. I heard somebody say the quickest way for to hide stuff from people in our community is put in a book.
Book.
And it's like oftentimes we just don't want to read, and we'll read, we'll watch Netflix and do all these things, but it's just something about like getting information that's helpful, that's going to change our lives in our community. Oftentimes we just like we don't want to do the work. It's like pulling teeth, but it's like this is something that's serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got like home ownership is key. In our community, there's a huge wealth gap because of home ownership. Back in the day, they couldn't even, our people couldn't even buy homes. There's predatory lending. There's so many barriers put in place so we couldn't become homeowners. Why? Because once you have home ownership, that's stability. You know what I'm saying? That's like safe housing. So like, and then you build equity, appreciation. So like, there's so much power in ownership, and it's like, you know what? Let's make it hard on them because we know they're not gonna read it. That's literally what in my opinion, that's what they did. They're not gonna read it. We're gonna put all these guidelines, make them think that it's far more reachable than what it is. But realistically, like we can do it. Like this it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of being disciplined and wanting it. You know what I'm saying?
And the book nowadays is
It's
so
in.
easily accessible.
It's
Right.
So
everywhere.
it's everywhere. It's around. We already on Instagram. We already on
Right.
TikTok. We already on online. So to
Right.
take that next step and get further information is easy. But we
Yeah.
rather the
And,
debate whether or not
Oh.
people paying
and,
paying
full,
50
and,
or not. That's a debate, but
Right.
different conversation.
and full transparency, that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, because this is the form in which people like to absorb information. They want to be entertained. They want it to be like, we're giving y'all game right now, but it's not like we're in a lecture type setting where it's like, all right, now we got to do this and we got to do that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like the information is there for everybody, but you also got to have a mindset, right?
Exactly.
Information, or the faith without works is dead, but the information without work behind that is just as dead too. So
Fact.
gather the information. And for some reason, I feel like the good folks over at the Block Shoppers are helping people get their ducks in a row so that they can approach the NACA program prepared, whether it takes them 3, 6 months, a year. So then, boom, y'all will have the right profile and y'all will get what y'all need out of that program. So yes, definitely take advantage of that joint.
Yeah, man. And just to add to that, like, and that's why I love what y'all are doing, right? Like, this is the new TV, and so, it's just a matter of putting it out there in a way, that's culturally relevant. You know what I'm saying? Like, people could, you hear one person, they could be saying the same thing I'm saying, but it may resonate more because I sound more like them. I look like somebody that they related to, somebody that they like, and so that's why it's important. Even with me, if you look at my social media, everything I post is I try to story tell through my clients and make it more educational, make it more relatable, because it might just hit that just because somebody heard it. They might have heard it 10, 15 other times, but because I said it a certain way, or I put a little music in the background and caught their attention, and it just resonates. And so, like, doing this kind of work, what y'all are doing, like, I commend it because, like, it's needed. I think it's the best way culturally for us to really, like, put out this information and for, our culture to receive it.
I think the first time I heard the term edutainment was, the good brothers over at EYL talking about that joint. Shout out to them. Again, they've been very inspirational, pivotal, and stuff we do over here. Um, but speaking of them, you have an event that you do annually as well. I recall, the good brother MG, the mortgage guy, pulling up, doing some stuff. Shout out to him. Talk about that building generational wealth summit that y'all do annually, where you're helping folks, you know, as far as real estate, entrepreneurship, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, shout out MG. He pulled up the first year we did it, and like it was, he dropped so many gems, and really it's just about annually putting on an event with like some of the top people in the industry, and really just educating our community on like wealth building. There's different forms of wealth building, but we know like the three major ones is home ownership, stocks, and entrepreneurship. And so we try to focus that in our workshops. So in our seminar, excuse me. So we'll have different panel discussions around like real estate, where we have some of the top people in the industry that look like us, and we're talking about it at every level. For example, one of the things we dropped, this past summer was, a lot of people don't realize you can purchase a home with a housing voucher. If you have a certain kind of voucher, you could actually buy a home. And so we'll educate people who might be in that demographic, or somebody in the working class who might be making a good salary. We talk about the NACA program, different ways that you could get into real estate without using all your money, little to none. We'll also talk about like just entrepreneurship. As an entrepreneur, it's a little different from us. Like we don't get paid off. Some entrepreneurs don't get paid every week or every bi-weekly. So it's a matter of like, how do you budget? How do you properly plan? How do you report your taxes? Because when it comes to home ownership, when you go to that bank, they're going to want to see, you know, some type of finance. They want to ensure that you're filing your taxes. So we're pretty much covering the different areas that people need in those areas to really scale and, be successful. We added like a portion about mental health. That's something key. It's
Mm.
important, like that you were taking care of ourselves, understanding what it means to like be your most authentic self, being apologetic. Those are the things that really help you be successful. So for us, it's really about just putting on a free event for the community. We do it in DC, we do it in Ward 8, which is oftentimes forgot about. They just talk about crime and stuff. So we've been doing that at the Art Theater. And, really it's just about a day of educating people, empowering people, building a community. One of the things with Block Shop, we've created an ecosystem where, not just me, but we have a lot of different partners. You guys are a partner, and we're like our community, our demographics. It's like, hey, if you need real estate, you come to Block Shop. If you need financing, you go here, here, here. Here are some like trusted people that share the same vision, that want to actually see you win, and like, this is what you need. These are all the resources you need, and let's just build from there. And so, it was successful last year. We're going to do it again this year in July, and we're excited about it. We just got a new partner. Shout out to DC CDC. Shout out to Gloria over there. They focus on entrepreneurship heavily. I got a grant through them, and so their goal is to like close the racial gap for entrepreneurs. And so they really provide like different funding opportunities, resources. And so like we just solidified a partnership with them. So they're gonna, come on this year and like help us. And so, for us, it's like really just trying to give people, all the tools and resources they need to, just build and become financially independent.
So in that area, in the DMV area, you got a lot of federal employees, you got a lot of DC employees, county employees all around, a lot of private industry. So you got a lot of people in our age demographic, especially the young ladies,
Yeah.
who have got a good job, good little 401k, good little fallback fund, may be a homeowner as far as their own residence right now.
Mm.
Um, but haven't really thought about the income aspect of real estate. If you were somebody in that situation who got a decent job, got a little bit of down payment money set aside, what would you advise them about their first steps in trying to get themselves together for that investment side of real estate?
Yeah, I mean, the first step is definitely just educating yourself, because you don't want to just jump into something blindly. It's important that you know what comes with it. And again, as we mentioned earlier, there's so much information out there, right? But you want to get the right information. There's information that's real, but then there's also, people putting out some BS, right? And so I think the first step is really finding somebody like a mentor or somebody who you can trust, confide in, bounce your ideas off, somebody who's done it before, right? And then from there, just coming up with a game plan, like, really what's your goal? For us, we're strategic. We're like, everybody has different goals. Some people, they want to have 100 doors. Some people like, you know what? I just want to have an investment property that's going to allow me to travel, pay for my lifestyle. So it's just really understanding like, what is it that you really trying to get out of home ownership? And then from there, that's where we create a game plan, So, and there's so many different programs. There's so many different ways. People oftentimes think that you always have to go to a bank to buy a home. I mean, I've purchased properties where I've done creative financing where I didn't have to go to a bank. They didn't look at my credit. I went to an owner who owned his no, who owned, the property outright, and he became the bank. And so there's different ways about getting into real estate. It's just, what's best for you. What's your budget? If somebody comes to me and say, hey, Randy, I have a $15,000 budget, what can I do? I already have multiple ways that we could actually invest. And then oftentimes is, you don't always have to do it alone. Strength in numbers. Sometimes it's better to do it with somebody else because now you're not putting as all your money down. You can split that in half, and now you have somebody else that can help you, and you guys could do it together. And so really, anybody who has some money, or you don't even have to have money. If we have a goal in mind, you tell me what it is that you're trying to do, I can tell you, okay, here's what you need to do to get there. So I just think, like, people who are curious about it, the first step is, one, trying to educate yourself, find somebody who's doing it that you trust, that's, reputable, and then, setting up a time to talk to them, and, attacking it, collectively.
One of the reasons why E.I.G got together, 12 black men all pitching in together collectively. What they say: if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, go together. And that's
Facts.
what we're doing. Some of you mentioned just the planning aspect, having a plan. There's another quote. Like I feel like through sales and marketing, like all we do is just quote stuff left and right. But people don't fail to plan, or people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan.
Yep.
Right. So, y'all have a real estate mentorship program over there at the Block Shoppers, if I'm not mistaken. What are some of the things that y'all do in y'all mentorship program to help people plan on some of these life events to get ahead and build, generational wealth?
Yeah, I mean, the first step, of course, we do, consultation, and just identify like what your objectives are, and like what your goals are. And then, from there we create a roadmap on like how to, get there. I call it a line of sight. What's your line of sight like to get to that goal, right? So, we create that, and that's going to be different for everybody. Somebody might be single, and they got no no worry. They don't have kids. We were talking about our kids earlier. They don't have kids. They get their money, no debt. They living at their parents' house, and like it looks different for them, right? And where you have somebody else who, we have kids. We have bills. So it's like it's going to be a different plan for everybody. But we pretty much create a strategic plan for them. We host like monthly workshops, free workshops, for our mentees and people in our community. And from there, we're just talking about the different investment opportunities. Just educating them, because my goal is not to have you're part of the community, but at some point I want you to become so confident in it, you're like, really, I don't need Randy anymore. Like after a year or two, it's like, you know that's still the home, that's still, we still partner, but I know enough to where I can make informed decisions, where, we'll reach out and say, hey, like, look at this deal that we just got, just to kind of flex. But like, our goal is really just to equip them with everything that they need. Everybody has a different level of understanding, and so some people get it quicker than others, but like we're good at like meeting people where they're at, and just from there creating a game plan for them. And you know one thing in our mentorship program, everyone is connected. We don't just accept everybody, because some it's really about quality over quantity. So like you got to really want to do it. So it's an intake session, and it's free, but it's still an intake, because we don't want to waste time with people who don't really want it. And so from there it's just a matter of like building with them. And we always tell our people like, hey, we're investing in you. Now you go find somebody else and you pay it forward, you invest in them. And that's the quickest way that really empower our community and build. But that's pretty much the mentorship.
So we kind of talked about the mentorship and the if you don't know what you're doing aspect of it. Now we're going to reverse it. People that are already in the game already got stuff going on.
Hmm.
I see you licensing all the DMV. I think I saw Georgia in there as well.
Yeah.
As far as markets go, right now, today, currently, Where do you see the opportunity at as far as geographically and as far as single family, multi-family? Like what do you see the opportunity is right now currently?
Yeah, I mean, there's deals everywhere. One of the great things for us is we've been doing it long enough to where we know a lot of the key players. There's a lot of deals that are happening that people don't even see. We get a lot of off market deals. So
Mm.
there's always deals. It's just a matter of like, again, where you're at. Because somebody who has multiple properties who has to put 20% down, once you're starting to put 20% down, like especially in the residential space, some deals just don't make sense. Why would I put $150,000 down to make $1,000 every month? So it's just a matter of like figuring out who and what and where. But like for me, DC is always a great place, just because we know there's government workers, there's so many jobs, there's always tourists. So whether it's short-term rentals or long-term rentals, there's opportunities, right? You're not limited. So multifamilies in DC are very big, especially there's so many government programs like Section 8 housing, there's housing up, there's veterans, there's health and human pathways to housing. Some of these programs are just like Section 8 where it's permanent vouchers. People who are on these programs, they may have to pay $50 a month out of a $1,500 payment. And so there's different programs, but I think DC is a great market for multifamilies. Baltimore is another market that we're seeing a lot of growth in, because in Baltimore the rents are starting to get higher and the homes are still appreciating, but they don't appreciate as fast as DC. So the margins are a lot. From what I'm seeing recently, they're better than DC, honestly, because you can buy a 4 unit building for 450, 500, and still rent it out, depending on the area, for 1,800. Whereas DC, you might pay 650, 700. That's $200,000-300,000 difference, right? So like, Baltimore is definitely an area where it's there's a lot of good opportunities. Outside of the DMV area, I would say definitely, Georgia was really hot at some, especially Atlanta, and there's still like areas, but Atlanta, like, it's starting to rise. A lot of people, it's not like a secret anymore. People are moving
Mm.
there, and but there's still opportunities in Atlanta. Texas is like another big area where there's opportunities, like Houston. Houston doesn't have any zoning, right? So if you're building, you can literally like build whatever you want. You could build like a couple houses, then a multifamily, a commercial. So you could really like build a community. If you have a group of investors, you could buy a plot of land and create a block and really do some economic development. And then obviously with this new administration, recently they came out saying that they were going to create like a data center in Texas. And
Mm.
so what does that mean? There's going to be more jobs and people moving there for jobs. So that's going to be an opportunity where people can invest in and do some rent it out long term, short term. Um, Internationally, honestly, is another thing that I see a lot of people starting to go towards, like Ghana. Um,
Mm.
and a lot of people are going to Ghana. I've seen Portugal. Um, some other areas in the Caribbean. But like there's a lot of opportunities. But again, it's just about the deals, knowing people in those markets. But the one thing with real estate is you got to understand your strategy, because real estate is really like a long-term game. Unless you want to do flips and build up your capital, that's quick money. But like, it's a long-term game. People will always need somewhere to stay. People need housing, and so it just comes down to the numbers. Do the numbers make sense for you? And so it might make sense for certain numbers make sense for me, but it might not make sense for somebody else. And you know, it's just a matter of like, what's your strategy, really?
So many ways to skin a cat, right? And that's why you said making sure you know on the front end, just like in the stock market, you know what I'm saying? Have your exit strategy. You got to know exactly what your end game is when you get into these, certain real estate deals. I know for me personally, I'll be looking into multifamily. If I get a 4 unit building, I know you hear a lot of people talk about I personally wouldn't do it because I have a daughter and family, but even have, I don't know if you could do this, have a relative maybe living in that one unit, right?
Mhm.
If you're a 4 unit building, having one relative, you know what I'm saying, and then rent the other 3 units out. Kind of talk about that. You threw 700,000 out there. Say we here in the DMV, we here in DC, building for 700.
Mhm.
Like numbers wise, like what could that look like for somebody going through the NACA program, or if you can give, without giving specifics and names and everything,
Mhm.
um, maybe a deal recently that you've done, because I
Mhm.
don't think a lot of people understand the benefit of doing something like that. Again, they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
They may see a
Right.
blurb on the internet somewhere. Oh man, they say they're living in one unit and bring the other one out. How
Yeah.
do I do that? Like,
Yeah.
walk through that real quick.
Yeah, so I just had a guy. He recently closed. I'm not gonna say his name, but he just bought a
It's,
building.
it's on your social media. They can find it. You got a whole testimonial on there.
uh, but yeah, he just bought a building, and he'll be living in one unit. It's 4 unit. It's three bedrooms, one 2 bedroom. He got it for 605. His mortgage payment is about 4,200. In that area, you know, there's people renting 3 bedrooms for as much as 2,500. I always say realistically, at the very worst case, let's just say he's on that lower end and he's renting them out for 2,000. Again, the mortgage is 4,200, so he's gonna be living in the 2 bedroom unit. The other 3 bedrooms, if they're all rented out for 2,000, that's $6,000. So 6,000 minus 4,200, that's what, $1,800. Of course, there's some little expenses like water and etc. But when it's all said and done, he's gonna be netting around 1,000 to 1,200 while he's living there. So like, imagine if he's not living there, that's an extra 2,000, and those are on the lower ends. He's gonna fix it up, make it to where he can get the most possible. But that's just an example, and that's a NACA deal. Why? But NACA, his interest rate was at like 5.5. So whereas I had another client, we didn't go through NACA. He had to go through just a traditional lender. His interest rate was like 6.5, right? So that's a big difference when it comes to your monthly payment. And not only that, just over 30 years, what you're paying in interest, that's literally could be hundreds of $1,000s that you're saving based off of that, like, difference in using a NACA as opposed to going through a different bank. And the reality of it is, if you can get approved through a different bank, you can get approved through NACA. It's pretty much the same criteria. NACA just has a little more steps to it. They want to get more in your business, but NACA is just more so about patience. Having the patience. Like, you go through a traditional lender, it might take you 2 days to get approved. NACA, it might take you a month or two. But now we've expedited the process. There's ways we could, get you in there quickly. So, I mean, for me, it's really no excuse unless it's just like a dire need or you own a property. That's one of the things with NACA. You can't like have a property that you own and then purchase through NACA. So they don't want you to be an investor per se, but
Okay.
you can still use the program to invest. But yeah, I think those numbers, that's a recent like actual deal.
So real quick, does that hurt you if you do it the other way around? If you have a NACA property, could you buy another property?
No, well, yes, you can. Because NACA, they just want you to live in there for at least 5 years. After 5 years, you can do whatever you want with it. If you decide to like not live in it, they put like a $25,000 lien on it. But for every year that you live in it, they take $5,000 off. So let's just say year 3, you want to sell it, then if your profit is 60,000, they're gonna take 15,000 from that. So, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like you didn't really pay any money to begin with to get it. So yeah, you're down 15,000, but you would have came up in a sense, because you're still walking away with a lot bigger profit. Or if you decide that you don't want to live in the unit, some people will refinance out of NACA, and there's really no penalty for refinancing out as
Mm-hmm.
long as the rate's better. So, some people refinance, but a lot of people they'll just, you know, hold it for 5 years, and then from there they just, do what they got to do.
Win-win, boy.
Right.
I mean, already, like you said, your income that you're bringing in is more than the mortgage payment. The interest rate's lower. You got somewhere free to live. You're not paying someone else to live anywhere. Plus, you got the appreciation of the building over those 5 years alone
Right.
in the DMV. We've seen, and depending on what's going on in the economy, I remember me and my ex-wife bought 2018, right before the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of interest or equity that's in our regular home is ridiculous. So I could imagine in a multifamily in the nation's capital right here, like y'all pay attention, man. These opportunities are out here for y'all.
Yeah, I actually recently heard like a statistic. They said in the United States, homeowners are sitting on $35 trillion in equity,
That's real.
which is,
Yeah.
when you think about it, right? Because they're always building something new. Price of like just inflation, there's, and like, yeah, the market may go up and down, but historically we know it'll go down and go up, So it's like, especially here in the DMV, like it's jobs,
Yeah.
jobs, jobs. So
Mhm.
again, understanding strategy, right? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you in it for the long run? If you're trying to flip something, then that's where you might have to really understand the market and see make the right decision. But overall, like it's a win-win. Like even if you don't plan to stay, one of the things I oftentimes hear people like, well, man, I don't know if I'm gonna stay in this area, so I'm not gonna buy. My
Mm.
thing is, you still have to pay rent. When you pay that rent at the end of the year, does your landlord say, "Hey, you've been a great tenant. Here's your money back"? Like, no, that money is essentially going down the drain. So if you think about, if your rent is $1,000, you're paying $12,000 every year. If you're in a place for 5 years, that's $60,000.
Mhm.
Like, but imagine if you owned a home and you were paying that mortgage, right? That's equity. That's money that on top of like what's going on around. That's money that you can essentially use. If you want to take money out, if you want to use that money to pay for your kids' college, or invest in your business. If you have an idea, it's just so many things that you can do with equity. That's why I tell people, it's like, why not? If you're gonna move, you could sell the property and make a profit and use that money to go, buy something else, or it's just endless. Or just keep that property and let that be an investment property. And especially with multifamily, it's a business that qualifying income. If you're making money every year, when you go get another loan, they're gonna look at, okay, well, shit, he's making 40,000 a year off this property, and he make 100,000. Okay, yeah, we gonna loan to him because that's a good, he has a good profile. So, for me, it's like ownership, just ownership. Like, we're not. Some of us aren't fortunate to have had parents who own their homes, who are passing them down. Imagine, like, our biggest expense in life typically is our like housing. So imagine you have a property for 30 years and you pass that on to your daughters, right? They may not want to stay in that crib, but they have, like, they coming from school or whatever, they build a family. Like, nah, we don't have to go buy this big house. We have a house right now. Let's stack up and let's build. And like, you have a house that you could pass down generation to generation. I mean, it's just how people like build wealth. So that's why, you see how passionate I am. I could talk about this all day.
So
Oh no, that passage of property, especially and we don't look at we don't know about it in our area much, but ranches is a big thing.
Oh,
Um is a big way how wealth is transferred over time, or historically,
mhm.
in this country. And we often complain about how we're behind the eight ball and how us black folks don't necessarily get the same have the same trajectory in life, but oftentimes it's because the generations before us didn't pass down these keys that
Mhm.
other generations had for other races. So when we talk about generational wealth, a lot of times it's what are you going to do in your situation to pass down something for the next generation after you?
Right.
And if we have any inclination the same $100,000 home that was available for you early 2000s is now $300,000.
Man,
And if you just got, so if you're able to pass that down to your kids 10, 20 years from now, what does that property value do in that scenario?
right. And it's paid
Um,
off.
Paid
and it's
off.
obvious. We see it. We all kind of know these numbers. We all kind of deal with these numbers. We all kind of see these numbers, but we don't necessarily understand, extrapolate that 5, 10 years that you know about
Hmm.
to 20, 30, 40 years for your kids or your grandkids in that same time period.
Man, and I just want to add to that because, like, one of the things as a real estate agent, I see a lot of people come to me, and like, I could give you an example. I'm not gonna say their name, but I had these clients, and like, their grandma passed away. They had a house in like Eckington in DC.
Mm.
Grandma owed probably like 80,000 on it, and like, two siblings, and one wanted to keep it, and the other one's like, I don't want to deal with it. Let's sell it. Let's get this money. Da da da. And the house was worth like almost $1 million, and like it was literally like because the one sibling didn't have enough money to like buy out the other sibling, they ended
Mm.
up having to sell it, and like, it wasn't in a trust. It wasn't like probably set up. So it was like, okay, yeah, they came up and like they split that. Like, okay, yeah, you got like 400,000 a piece, but that money's gonna get taxed. And like,
Absolutely.
before you know it, it's gone. But I'm like, dang, had they had been able to just, come together and say, hey, let's keep this house. You at an M right now, and like that's something that if they needed the money so bad, you could take a line of credit out against it. Buy, you know, do something with it and not have sold it. And of course, they sold it, to somebody that don't look like us, and
Mm.
and now it's just like, okay, yeah, you have this cash, but like, what are you doing with that cash, right? And it's like oftentimes that happens in our communities where there's not
Mhm.
like trust set up, there's not wills, and like, Granny had this house from the 80s, and it's in a prime area, and like, where somehow we don't keep it, we end up selling it, and those are the unfortunate stories because it's like that was the quickest way that you could have legit built real wealth and legacy. You know
But
what I'm
there's
saying?
multiple layers to that
Right,
because you talked about the estate, you talked about the tax law, even tax laws.
right,
Um, as far as estate taxes, as
right,
far as property, like a lot of these things are set up for you to keep these houses and transfer them over time,
right,
and we don't necessarily understand that. We think $1 million is $1 million, but $1 million in a house sale, once it's taxed and passed through today, is a whole
right,
different situation
right,
than how $1 million in a state that's passed through with estate taxes won't pass through taxes.
right, right.
And we don't understand that because we don't deal with it often. Um, but as you say, nowadays the book is readily available for you to get that information. So
Mhm.
I just urge everybody to prepare themselves for those situations because they kind of know what's going on before grandma passes away.
Right, right.
Because when it happens, it's too late.
Gotta be proactive instead of reactive, right? And like,
100%.
and that's why we do like we do like we talked about the Build Generational Wealth Expo, but like, well, one thing I realized because I go to a lot of different conferences, try to do professional development. It's like you had that, that you're on a high when you go there, and it's like that
Mm.
feel good moment, and like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, do that, and then a week later, there's no action, there's no follow up. So like, we do the annual workshop, annual like expo, but then like every month we're doing like free workshops to reinforce the stuff that we've talked about in those sessions. And so that's like one of the reasons why we do that, because it's like we need to you can have an opportunity if you don't want to read a book, if you don't want to listen to your podcast or EYL or YouTube and research it, like go to a meetup, go to a free class. We do lunch and learn, so we come get free food and get some knowledge, meet people who look like you, who you can connect with, still like, keep it going, and like just learn these things. You might not get it all at once, but like, it's just a matter of educating yourself. And so like that's just something that we got to continue doing. Just, again, I love what y'all do because this is critical. You know what I'm saying? If y'all not doing, who else is gonna do it, right?
And we appreciate that, my brother. So we talked kind of around it a lot, but give us, I guess, the full synopsis of what the block shoppers is, what y'all do, how can somebody get in touch with y'all, like what resources y'all have for everybody, those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest thing is we're trying to bridge the wealth gap, right? And so, specifically through real estate, again, we're big on home ownership. So, we do credit counseling. We help people if they have issues with credit. Wherever you're at, we're gonna meet you there and give you the tools that you need to get to whatever it is that you're trying to do. So, our biggest thing is like education. A lot of our services are free. Like we make money through like acquisitions of buying real estate and stuff. We did just get our trademark, so now that opens up other streams of you know income. But like for us, it's really just pushing education around real estate. But we have an ecosystem of like trusted preferred partners. So like we have estate attorneys, we have tax advisors. So really, we're trying to set you up for success so you can be in a position to not only buy real estate, but keep it. Once you get the property, now you got to ensure that you have the proper insurances. We tell people like when you buy a property, buy a life insurance policy because like if something happens to you, you do not own that property until it's paid off. So, if that mortgage is, 500,000, it could be a term life insurance policy for 30 years, the life of the mortgage. But let that be a something, just like a hack, and something happens, life happens, we don't know. We all have a date. And so from there it's just like setting yourself up for success, to be in a position to win. Contractors, that's a big thing. People are like, oh, I don't want to have to be responsible for repairs. Okay, we teach you, got to be proactive. Like, if you have this heating system, you gotta, it's the little things like making sure, you're, replacing your filters, you're doing preventative maintenance, you have home warranties, it's really just setting up people for success to be able to become homeowners, sustain it, and pass it down. So, we do that. We do property management. Some people, I always tell people like, they buy their first building, they're like, oh, Randy, I need a property manager. And I'm like, wow, I don't mind, making some extra money, but really you don't need it. I have the resource. I can tell you, here's handyman, here's a list of these things. You can manage it because once you bring a property manager in there, that's 10% of income that you're giving away really for facilitating it. And I get it, peace of mind, but now that's taken away from your revenue. Get some money flowing into the property first, and then once you have enough, then you could outsource that. But like, we do property management, we do strategic planning, and then one of the things we've added is we're going to create an investment group where we're crowdfunding for different projects, building together. But again, I've been like very adamant that because when you're dealing with people's money, it's touchy. So for us, it's like making sure we're doing it the right way, we have the right people. But that's something that we added, and really by summer 2025, that'll be like really something that we offer. And then yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we do. And then we do have a nonprofit which is associated with it, the Community Elevation Alliance. It's 501c3, and through there we're trying to get into the school systems. And so like we do go to certain schools in DC that we've partnered with, where we're teaching like real estate, teaching certain like finance, like career readiness, career exploration in real estate field. Because one of the things that we're underrepresented, we need to have appraisers that look like us, we need inspectors that look like us. So we're really trying to teach people about like careers in real estate outside of just being an agent, a lender, title insurance, really, so we can start setting ourselves up for success. Because there's a lot of discrimination that happens and we might not even see it. So like that's really like what we're about, that's what we focus on. And we're gonna have some merch going now that we got the trademark. So
I was
Hey,
about to say
real quick,
I need to get me a block shopper's tee, but go ahead, man.
hey, no,
yeah,
no, block time see is hard than anyone know.
I got
But my man just said something though. It's a lot of people out here who credit may not be right, may not have any down payment, but are around a group of investors. There are jobs and situations where you could help everybody.
right.
The inspector situation,
Mm.
the appraiser
Razor.
situation. There's a lot of jobs inside real estate where you could help the greater situation of your greater friend
Community.
group, community,
Right.
um, and not necessarily be the one who's purchasing the real estate. I just want to double back to that because that's very important. I've seen people who've gotten the right circle of friends who they may have not been the one whose credit score was right, who may have not been the one whose money was right at that point in time, but got their licenses right.
Right.
It was able to get money with people that was getting money at the same time together.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a lot of roles to play in that property acquisition sequence that we don't always think about in our community. Where it's a lot of separate people in there that had to be involved in it from the situation of um, it doesn't cost you much money to get involved in those ways. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Right. Now that's a fact.
So keep that in mind.
Because right now you'd be hard pressed to go through a whole process and everyone in the process look like us, right? You'd be hard pressed. I don't know if I know too many people that have done that,
Right.
right? So every step in the process, someone looks like us. But hopefully through forums like this, what y'all doing, Randy, with Block Shoppers and everyone that you're affiliated with, that we can get more people inspired and educated about real estate so that we have more people that look like us that are representing us. So you won't hear these horror stories about, oh yeah, man, I had an appraiser come in and look at my crib and then I had to uh for lack of a better term, de-blackify my house so that, it gets appraised for more. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the kind of practices that we get hit with, unfortunately, because, racism is still real. Racial bias is still real. But if everyone in the process looked like us, wanted to contribute to the community like us, we wouldn't have issues like that, man. So it's been
Definitely.
a dope conversation, man. It's been a dope conversation. I feel like we going to have to do a part two of this joint too, man. So
Whenever, man, I'm with it, man. I love what y'all do. Any way I can support y'all, man. I love your annual, event, and that's huge. That's inspiring, and like, that to have that consistency and to see how it's grown over the years, man, kudos to y'all, and y'all just keep evolving, man. And again, I love what y'all doing, man. Any way I can support y'all, the members, in any way, sign me up.
yeah, we all crew with Jason. We need to do some more collaboration between the two groups, and we'll make that happen for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. So for all the listeners out there, for our community, let them know how they can find y'all, they can get all this good information about NACA, about the block shoppers, about all the good stuff, man. How can they tap in with you?
Yeah, definitely. So, we're big on Instagram. My personal Instagram is real estate underscore Randy underscore DMV. The Block Shoppers official Instagram is official underscore Block Shoppers with an S. Just on our social media, if you click on our bio, we have a link tree. How big is link tree, right? We put all the pertinent information you need, really around NACA, how to create, how to set up a consultation. We do free consultations, our different programs. So you could just go on there, find us. And our website is www.weareblockshoppers.com.
That sounds like a bet, man. We appreciate your time, appreciate your information. Everybody tap in. I know it's a lot of everybody always goes to real estate as they first go to try to figure out how to invest, but never does the next step of getting the information on how to properly do it. So we just got a good resource for you guys. So please tap in with them.
Everybody that comes on the podcast, they affiliated with us and they family. You know what I'm saying? We already had, dope vibes and good energy, but like it's official now. You are officially one of the extraordinary cousins. I don't know. We gotta come up with
We
some
got to
kind
find
of
a thing. You're right.
yeah. We'll figure it out. Come on, Mr. Jingles.
I got you. I got
You
you.
got all the catchphrases and the jingles. Come
Next
on,
week I
man.
got you. Next week I got you. Don't say less.
Yep, we got another episode coming up next Thursday. So appreciate y'all. Me and Benz again. We are 2 of 12 Black Men in the Extraordinary Investment Group, doing what we can in the community through education, which we've got here, and smart financial strategies, which we've got here. So appreciate y'all time. Y'all lock in with Randy, and we will holler at y'all on the next episode. All right.
Appreciate y'all.
Extraordinary extended family. There we go. That's that quick.
Extraordinary Extended Family.
Just
EEF.
that quick.
Yeah, yeah. That's
I
a
knew it wasn't gonna be nothing for him to do it.
I just got to think for a
Smart.
second. That's all.
There you
It's
go.
extended family. That's all it is. Because like, and that's really what it is. Like, that's what we try to cultivate over here. Is resources of people that we deal with, we know, we understand, that are quality people, that are have a mission driven, that we can extend to our immediate inner circle. That, hey, this is a person that's in the real estate game in the local area that we can help out with. So there we go, extended family. Let's roll with that.
There you go. There you go.